Girls, have you ever wondered how to get a sexier voice? Well, this week I'm going to look at the 5 main ingredients that give females a sexier voice. Now that is from a scientific point of view, of course. Now, guys, don't worry, yours is coming next week, so stick around. As a holistic voice coach, I study and analyze voices all day long. And this week, I've been researching the 3 actresses that have been purported to have the sexiest voices in the world. I wanted to figure out why. And remember, there's no sex here, just science. Q&A Tuesday, all your voice questions answered. Hi, I'm Elisa James, founder of the Voice of Confidence public speaker training course. And as a voice coach, I deal with many different weird and wonderful requests, vocally speaking, from people. But this week, this one just keeps coming up. I hear you, you wanted to sound sexy, so here it is. Some people love the way that they sound when they have a bad cold. For a few days, they might sound raspy and croaky and call it their sexy voice. In today's video, I'm going to show you exactly what these women are doing who've been voted to have the sexiest voice without the benefit of a cold. Let's get stuck into it, shall we? But just before I give you today's top 3 list, let's quickly give an honorable mention to the original queen of the sexy voice, Marilyn Monroe.
She'd have to be a pretty terrible girl to be mean to a sweet, intelligent, generous man like you.
When we look at her voice and her mannerisms right now in time, they are actually way off base because of what women represent today compared to what they represented back in the 1950s. For decades, her light, airy, and delicate voice was considered the epitome of feminine sensuality. But now, that sound doesn't quite cut it in today's world. Why? Because women nowadays, especially in Hollywood, are empowered and they play heroes in their own right as well as staying feminine within those roles. So instead of delving into Marilyn's airy, light and breathy voice, we're actually going to scoot straight to today's top 3 list. Number 1, Scarlett Johansson. Number 2, Angelina Jolie. And number 3, Marion Cotillard. I've analysed each of their voices over multiple video clips, and I've noticed that they're all using the same 5 ingredients to make their voice sound sexy. First, let's look at the attributes that make these women so appealing, and then I'm going to show you the exact 5 ingredients that they're all using to make their voice sound so feminine and sexy. Number 1, since Scarlett is at the very top of the list of many top 10 lists, let's use her first. You'll notice in all of these roles she plays a woman very much in charge of her own life and destiny. Confident, cool, calm, and in some cases, deadly. This irresistible cocktail of confident, strong, beautiful, and feminine drives men wild. And that voice on top of all of those attributes, the perfect vocal brand. Now, let's have a listen to her voice.
Hey fellas, either one of you know where the Smithsonian is? I'm here to pick up a fossil.
More about that later. Number 2, in a similar way, Angelina plays very strong women in many of her roles also. And when she's speaking with a British accent, like in her role as Lara Croft, her voice is undeniably even more sexy and very different from her usual American accent sound. The reason? The resonant spaces used for British and American speaking sounds are actually very different. Let's have a listen to her sexy voice.
$20 million worth of plastic surgery. And that's the face you choose.
Lastly, but not least, number 3. Marion is my favorite on this list. She's feminine, raw, natural, open, and sometimes brings a very subtle flavor of innocence and a childlike quality to her roles. After 9 years of being French cinema star, she came to Hollywood and was a very fresh look and feel on the scene. She's classy, multi-layered and charismatic on camera and oh so féminine. A true femme fatale. Let's have a listen.
I know you're armed with a weapon, Mr. Batten. I'm just checking your safety catch is engaged.
Now that you've heard all three women, let's get down to the 5 ingredients that make them sound so sexy. Number 1 is pitch. This is a very different approach to the Marilyn Monroe sound because all 3 of them are using a very low pitch in these roles. This makes them sound more authoritative when they're speaking and also gives that leadership quality to their voices. This is probably no mistake since these actresses have all played very strong roles such as superheroes, spies, and assassins. This approach is very different from that very high breathy tone that Marilyn Monroe used. So if you're trying to sound sexier, drop your pitch a few tones and back off the volume. Number 2, pacing. When these ladies are speaking, they slow down deliberately as if they are confident, calm, and in charge at all times. No sign of an out-of-control, emotional little girl here. The pacing is slow and thoughtful and meant to pack a punch. They're not afraid of awkward or pregnant pauses. They actually like to see people squirm. Slow and deliberate wins this sexy voice race. Number 3, vocal fry. Part of their sex appeal also could be the use of vocal fry from time to time. This is a very slow vibration of the vocal folds at an extremely low pitch. This particular vocal fold vibration engages the false vocal folds as well as the true vocal folds. And when you use vocal fry, you sound a little croaky and slightly even sick or lackadaisical. Angelina called it her bedroom voice. When she was recording the highly acclaimed animation Shark Tale back in 2009, she used vocal fry, a low pitch, and that made up her bedroom voice. Number 4, lack of production. This way of using the vocal folds and the respiratory function is what I would actually call extremely lazy or underproduced. This is great for film and characterization on film, but not so great for daily speech. Because we're not all walking around mic'd up to a camera and ready on a film set. If you spoke like that, so quietly every day, hardly anyone would hear you. Again, maybe great for the bedroom, but not so great for the office. Last but not least, number 5, airflow. All of these ladies also used a lot of airflow during their speaking. This just means that there was actually too much air passing through open vocal folds when they're trying to make a sound. They're not closing the vocal folds properly to get enough air pressure to make the sound clear and strong. As opposed to using falsetto closure in male singing, high singing is tight and thin and pushed like the Bee Gees used. Well, we can use too much airflow actually across any note on any range. Marilyn used too much airflow when she was singing high, but also used too much airflow during speech. And these ladies that we're talking about are using a lot of airflow on a very low pitch. So there you have it. Want a sexy voice? Let's review the 5 things that you need to do. Number 1, lower your pitch. Number 2, slow down your pace. Number 3, add a touch of vocal fry. Number 4, underproduce your sound. Number 5, add a little bit too much air. Bingo! Now go and practice. And guys, if you're still here, make sure you check out next week's video for the sexy male voice version. I'll see you then.